Hello, and welcome to Life After Gray Narcissist Divorce, and welcome to Addicted to the Narcissist. Whether you were addicted to the narcissist or you are addicted to the narcissist, and no, it is not because, or at least in my estimation, it is not because you are a codependent. It is because what you have in common with a rat in a lab and what you have in common with that person sitting in the casino pulling the handle on the slot machine. And that is something our friend B.F. Skinner studied called Operant Conditioning. And that is something that the narcissist has done to you. They have operant conditioned your brain. They have caused an addiction in your brain. And when they studied this on the lab rats actually could kill themselves, actually starved themselves to death, because this is how the operant conditioning works. If the lab rats were rewarded with a treat, say they pulled on a lever, and every time they pulled on a lever, they got the food, then they knew to pull on the lever and get the food, and they were rewarded with the food. Well, they also knew that if they pulled on the lever and they didn't get the food, they would quit pulling on the lever, okay? Then if they did something called intermittent reinforcement, which means if they pulled on the lever and sometimes they got the food and sometimes they didn't get the food, they would still pull on the lever all the time. They would hit it a lot, which is what they do to you in casinos too. You pull on the lever, sometimes you get the reward, sometimes you don't. So you keep putting that money in and pulling on that lever, because sometimes you get a payout. And that's how the casinos make all their money. Well, it was the same thing with these rats. They would pull on the lever, sometimes they would get the food and sometimes they wouldn't. Well, then what they did is they started to they would give them less and less food, less and less and less and less. Well, eventually they stopped giving the rats any food, and the rats kept hitting the lever, hitting the lever, hitting the lever, and these rats actually kept hitting the lever until they died. So what does that have to do with you and the narcissist? Well, this is what it has to do with you and the narcissist. When you got together with the narcissist, what did they do in the beginning? They gave you a lot of rewards. They love bombed you. So you were getting inundated with reward after reward after reward, which was wonderful. Your brain was all lighting up, okay? Then after a while, you were going through the devaluation stage, but it wasn't a constant devaluation. And I don't have it with me here. What started happening was usually what you start going through, which was told to me when I finally found out what was going on with myself, which did not take me till like 14 years. But anyway, you go through, because I wasn't in a physically abusive relationship, it was emotionally abusive. But it's still the same thing. You're going through what they call the cycle of abuse, which means they're not being bad to you all the time. It's sometimes they're being bad, and then they're nice. So it's a cycle. So you're being rewarded with good times part of the time. And so it's just like the lab rat. It's good some of the time. And in between that time, when the bad times are happening, what the narcissist is also doing is they are gaslighting you and telling you that later on, when the good times are happening, then they're telling you that those bad times didn't really happen. You imagined them, or you're exaggerating, that didn't happen. So you're also being gaslighted about the bad times. So you are really, your mind is basically addicted to the narcissist. It is like your mind is on crack. And this has been proven. Rats have died from this. And this is what the narcissist has actually done to your brain. So I would almost go to argue that it is not really the same thing as being a codependent, because that term was coined for people who are aiding alcoholics, and that's not what really happened to you. Now, if you are so not that you can't call yourself that if you don't want to, or if you find that term excuse me, useful to yourself, then go ahead and use that term if you want to use that term on yourself. But what I am saying is that what happened to you is a much more powerful thing than just being codependent. It's a powerful addiction that has happened to your brain, and it is what casinos use to get people hooked on their slot machines, etc. And it's all in behavior psychology that they used, and that's what the narcissist has used to get you addicted to them. And that is why no contact is so important. And unfortunately, for many people, no contact is not possible, especially when children are involved, or for some people, with their financial situations, sometimes it is not possible. So anyway, thank you for stopping by, and I hope this explains it to people more. And I just feel bad that so many people are shamed by others for not leaving when they do not understand the powerful forces that are in play that make it so difficult for the victim of narcissist abuse to leave, because they are basically under almost like a drug addiction. They are under an addiction to the person. So anyway, thank you for stopping by.